Hey guys, Connor over here. So we're going to be looking at my Aspect of Life meta battle group, my version of the Aspect of Life meta battle group. You know, Marcus, the catcher of vibes, he coined this BG, and I sort of took it as my own and made my own list according to what he had as his core, and I've found this is most effective for me. I feel like his list is probably more, you know, geared towards everybody else because a lot of my battle groups tend to end up being catered to me. I think that's how making battle groups for yourself works. So we'll get into it. I'll shut the fuck up. So we have Aspect of Life, obviously. The whole BG is designed to work around, lay on hands. It used to be lay on hands, now it's just lay on hands. You can take Majestic 1 for 81 Nord total, but I prefer Majestic 2 just because when she is in her ethereal form, she can be very annoying to deal with. You just kind of run her as basically a beater champion. You run her into a situation and she spreads her majestic nature all over people's faces. Now when she is an actual champion, it can be attacked without taking less damage from every other source other than magical. She can just be used to shut down melee or even range. You run her at a ranged champion and then they have Awestruck applied to them, and they can't really run away from her. And then the following turn, she's ethereal, and you can't attack her again. So she's just a good champion. And then if you ever can deploy her first, you can generally get Boundless Vitality off, so you are able to use Lay on Hands every turn. And I guess the synergy with Escape Magic and Lay on Hands is that when Escape Magic procs, they go back to the Shrine, and she just heals them to full health. So for 40 Nora, you essentially get a redeploy. You can cleanse any conditions off, and in certain scenarios, I guess, if there's somehow they cast, there was a Rotting Blows attack or something. I know KF doesn't have any of this, but if they have a self condition on them, you can use Lay Hands offensively. It's very niche, but probably never happen. A lot of this battle group kind of has, a healing focus, just with Aspect of Life being in there. We have Avenging Angel for the Divine Favor. I kind of already went over the heal, but since it's a new video, we'll do it again. I love the heal 2 over the heal 3 just because the spread out healing is better overall, I find. Another good champion. 7 speed, 12 damage, 44 HP, 1 defense. So it's pretty good beater, pretty good healer as well. Next up, we have Bliss the Muse for the creativity. Getting more EM procs off is kind of the name of the game with this BG. She, as a standalone unit, is fairly tanky against certain matchups. Magic Acolyte can basically shut down, magic-heavy BGs. She's insanely hard to one around if that's the case, if they have magic damage on the field. But generally speaking, she is very self-reliant. She's hard to kill, and she has Force Front. You can take Hawk Attack, but it kind of makes her expensive just for, eviscerated. You generally like Forest Font, because in some maps too, it's good to have the forest or the grass, because you can put it over lava, you can put it over their terrain. If they have some sort of domain champion, it can kind of counteract that. Next up, we have Centaur Regulator. Nora Link is a very good ability. Since we don't have any Nora generation in this BG, it's just good to have some sort of Nora gen counter, because Shattered Peaks has that stupid fucking slag that produces 15 Nora every 2 turns, so this is a good kind of counter. Forsaken Waste has, the Unholy Tomb. Underdepths has Sacrifice, so if this thing is out, it kind of either benefits you greatly having the Nora Link, or in the case of UD, it kind of makes them think twice about sacrificing, or they have to focus killing the Regulator first before doing the sacrifice. Also has Shatter and Hunter Small. This being bugged, I think, works on every attack, so anything, it basically just has an extra 2 defense from everything. So it's sitting at 4 defense, and against the +2 damage on hitting anything, so it is kind of tanky, and it kind of dishes out damage. Next up, we have Condor Fury. Pretty much a staple, I would assume, in any meta BG, just because it is ridiculous once it gets the quest off, and if you are healing with the quest, it's even more beneficial. Lead the Charge, just another great ability for the mid-game, getting into situations with, initiative. Next up, we have Dugun, one of my favorite Kathir Force runes. Him with Thirst for Battle and Battle Harden is just insane. Every time that I've deployed this champion, it's always been super impactful. you know, maybe he only gets a Triumph from off and dies, but generally this ability alone can stall out games, or stall out, you know, a mid-font fight, or even just the middle part of a game, allowing him to kind of stack up, or, you know, making them distracted so they can't cast abilities, and just doing a big push, as well as being an AoE damage ability that does Frighten. It does 12 damage, and it makes them distracted. So I run no AoE in most Cthulhu battle groups that I play. I don't have any access to AoE because Grimlock's Bane is just superior in almost every circumstance. So it is good to have some sort of AoE ability. We have the Strategist. Again, I've mentioned the Pole synergy with Trap. I generally run, if I'm running Strategist, I am running Thorn Trap. We have Experimental War Spirit. I've already talked about him in length. It's just, you know, the counterall. Very good rune. We have Fey Dreamer. I think this rune is severely underplayed. Dream State is a disgusting ability. It used to be very prevalent in Forglar Swamp when they had the Relic. That was like a huge thing. Dream State is just an insane ability, giving shielded on play, Spell Swallower, Favor, and counter spells. So it's basically just like anti-spell. You know, they can't cast a spell directly on the unit because of shielded. They have Spell Swallower, so when they cast spell, you gain damage. When you cast a spell, you have favor, so you gain 5 Nora, and when they cast a spell, you gain 5 Nora. So it's just a good thing. And it has Gift Future Sight, so it gives something a buffer, which is an extra 10 HP, and it gives Detection. So this is very good. And Blockade is an insane ability. And for all the price of 53 Nora, generally this champion doesn't attack, it kind of just moves around, applying Dream State to whatever you deploy. We have Dalim, Outcast Dalim. Shout out to the Maka for letting me use this limited version. The Dalim's Mass Teleport is a unique function, or a unique ability that's only put on the limited version, where when he teleports, he explodes a fiery rain on the ground with all of his allies, so it's kind of a cool thing. But since we are running, you know, 45 or 35 plus Norse spells, except for Naturalize and Inhibit Power, it is good to have a adaptive unit that can kind of take advantage of that. And Purging Flames is a very good ability. It, again, is a dispel, so we have access to fire damage via him having fire damage, and we have Burning Oak Seed, so we can apply dispel at range, or basically, you know, in melee, whatever. We just have access to spot dispel. Queen Inaru, an insanely efficient rune that basically comes out with, I think it's 30 HP on the summon. Pretty sure it's 30. So it comes out with 78 HP essentially, with the pet and this unit. It is just an annoying melee unit to run. There are multiple builds that you can go. You can go flanking, you can go divert, but it makes her very expensive. She would end up being 83 Nora instead of being 75. I prefer this build because it makes her cheap. She is very good. We have Ranger Elite, just another meta staple. This thing is fucking retarded. It is so strong. Surge Enemy, Initiative, Arrow Shot. People take Commander, but this is not the BG to run Commander. Combat Awareness is good, but I don't ever see anyone running it, so I just prefer the dodge upgrade. We have Snake Charmer, because there are a decent amount of Rangers and Elves in this battle group, so the boost does come into effect sometimes. This thing has Heal 2. Again, I generally like Heal 2 over anything else. It has Charm, so you can, you know, disengage at will. She has Summon, obviously just a good support champion. We have Togenkaya, which is the limited version of Corgi Ranger. This thing is really good with Battle Leader and Arrow Shot. You could run Elusive Leap, but I don't recommend it. Having 2 range abilities on a melee unit is fucking fantastic, as well as being able to proc Battle Leader from range, while being a annoying, you know, 1v1 champion to deal with, because Ferocious Bite is just, it shuts a lot of shit down, especially in UD where we don't have active cleanse. We have one of my favorite Cthulhu runes, Warcaller Fjorn. Being at 84, I think this is like severely undercosted for what he can do. You know, with being able to pull things into range with this Strategist, you can definitely easily proc Battle Leader with Heavy Charger and Charge and Horn of Cthulhu being up. Just with Horn of Cthulhu being active and a charge attack, that's, you know, 19 damage and then plus 50%, so you're sitting at around 27 before defense mitigation. If you are in range of Commander, obviously that goes up. But yeah, he can just basically one-shot mostly anything, and with, you know, Battle Leader being kind of a sub-theme in this, you can stat stack or damage stack. And then we have Wisp. So I run Fascinate. You could run Evasive. This is generally the preferred upgrade, but Fascinate is actually really annoying to deal with. It's on Snog-V. I'm sure people that have played against Snog-V know exactly what it is like to deal with that thing in a mid-font. It makes positioning a nightmare. Granted, this thing doesn't have the Sonic Aura or whatever it is. I think it's distracting. I can't remember. But yeah, it's just annoying. It makes you have to think twice about positioning inside of the Fascinate range. You have to understand that you're going to get pulled in. This thing in a mid font, when you're positioning it directly against, say, the Nora font, will generally pull whatever is in range into in closer into the Wisp, which means that they're closer to your allies, which means that damage is closer overall. This thing is fairly tanky with one with Nora and Magic Acolyte. Now, they can get around one with Nora through abilities, but it generally doesn't matter because a lot of champions don't have that per se, and there are ways around that through Distract, through Inhibit Power, so we have ways to just, kind of get around that. And plus, we do run Escape Magic as a ×2, so units like Wisp, units like Condor Fury, units like Dugong become way more annoying to deal with because, if you're stat stacking with Dugong and he has a couple Thirst for Battle procs off and he dies, you just EM it and it comes back to life with all of its stats and you just heal it the full with Aspect of Life. And then we have ×2 Cryptic Banes, just because this is the BG to run it in. This is a meta BG. You want to do things efficiently and you want to kill fast. We have Grimlock's Mirror because this is in terms of champions, a Highlander BG. We have a lot of good copies. You can do Avenging Angel. Obviously, you're losing a 3 Nora on the copy, but Divine Favor is good in the mid game if you can't, if a lot of things have taken damage and you can't spread out your heroes properly, heals properly through Snake Charmer and Avenging Angel, it is an option. We have Condor Fury. Now, I'm not entirely sure, because it's worked some games, it hasn't worked others, with Lead the Charge, if this ability actually comes into play, because it does say deployed from Rundock, but as I said, it's worked before, so you can get a second proc off of Lead the Charge. You can use it on Dugong, because obviously you can only run one of these in the battle group, but with Grimlock's Mirror, you can cast it again. And again, I don't know if deploy is the same as getting a copy of it, but it says that it comes into the deployment zone, so I'm not entirely sure what this rune or what this spell specifically, how it interacts with deploying, but it is a good copy. You can do it on Ranger Elite. I've done that before. It's good on Experimental War Frenzy, depending on the matchups. Just a good flex piece for Highlander BGs, I think. You could do it on Aspect of Life if you really wanted to, but it's probably not worth it. Herbal Antidote for Cleanse. Again, we're running Delim, so it's probably better to run a spell version of Cleanse because he can take advantage of the spell being cast. Plus, he would gain 8 HP in essence because of the 4 from Adaptive and the 4 healing from Herbal Antidote, and they do gain poison immunity as well as disease immunity for 4 turns. So that can be a niche, boon to casting the spell. And Inhibit Power, again, is just disgusting, so that's why we run it. Naturalize is an insanely efficient spell for killing summons and relics. Pride of Cthir, obviously. We have Thorn Trap. We have Woodland Portal. Now, this is another underutilized rune that I think a lot of the higher-up Cthir players, or even just generally people, have noticed that this is such a good rune to run, because being able to have spot access to swap can really open up some doors for you. And in terms of this battle group specifically, you can swap AoL into a mid-font scenario where she's getting multiple people awestruck, or you can swap Dugong into a good spot to get off a good Triumphant Roar. There's just a lot of good applications, and you can, if you move into the range of the relic, you gain the ability swap, and then you can swap something out. And then that champion that you swap can still use swap if you go back to the relic. The ability essentially resets on the champion because it no longer has it. You can't do this on Strategist because Strategist has swap naturally, so it will still keep the cooldown. Burning Oak Seed just for all damage, because a lot of this is specifically, physical and magical. Again, we have Delim for fire, so generally in Cthir Forest, you're going to have 3 sources of damage, being the Oak Seed, physical, magic, maybe sometimes electrical, maybe sometimes sonic, but generally that's it. And then we have the Centaur banner, and we have the Horn of Order. So that's the Aspect of Life battle group. Again, shout out to Marcus. And thanks for listening to me blabber about the deck, and we'll get another video up soon of the actual gameplay.